All right, I'm going to go ahead and go through Streamlabs. I'm going to take the time and walk us through it from the top. I wanted to do this on stream, but or on a video. I just feel like it didn't work on stream. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and jump up there. We're just going to go from the top from Streamlabs, and we're going to go from the download process to all of the settings you need to have to get you started and pushed in. So make sure you stick around, ask questions. If you know what you're doing already, stick around, because I guarantee there's probably something that I'm gonna say that either you've heard of or heard of differently, or you might have a question about, and I'd hate for you to miss something just because you're like, Psh, I know how to stream, bro. Look at me, I'm a cool guy, I know how to stream. Anyway, you might ever say things like that, but that's just what it is. But anyway, let's get into it. So what you're going to need to do first is you need to download the Streamlabs website. You need to go to the Streamlabs website and download Streamlabs OBS. Once you have that, you need to go ahead and install it, and you're going to have to create an account. So if you have like a Twitch or a YouTube or anything like that, you're going to want to sign in into Streamlabs so that we can get into those things. So once we get in there, it says save more with Streamlabs Prime. We're not going to worry about Streamlabs Prime right now. Even though you can have Streamlabs Prime and it give you a whole bunch of options, you don't have to pay to get any kind of things that are special. So when you open up Streamlabs OBS, yours is going to look different from mine, but what you're going to see is a very clean, kind of intuitive, kind of inviting environment. On the left side at the top, you're going to have the editor, you're going to have the alert box library, themes library, and the app store. And then if you have any apps that will install on the bar over here, this is Streamlabs OBS and OBS. It's kind of both. The tutorials for both. Somebody asked, is this Streamlabs only or OBS? So there's a lot of elements we're going to talk about that is specifically Streamlabs, but some of these things are going to cross. So just, it's kind of an OBS tutorial, but the overlays and themes are definitely going to be Streamlabs. So to get started, we're going to go over to the themes, and we're going to find a free theme. For example, I have Prime, so I get access to all of these options here to be able to put in mine. But you don't have to have that to get any free options. So what we're going to do is look for free, and all we have to do is in the search bar type free, hit enter, and it'll search it down to things that we can download for free. And a lot of them have to do with kind of free games that you already can do. Like here's RuneScape, here's a Fortnite kind of themed one. There's a few more ones that are here themed after games. There's another Fortnite. Here's one that's for Forza. There's an R6 one. And so you can find something that kind of works for you. Like here's a nice blue one. I kind of like this Miramar one. It's actually nice. I like the chat box. I like the little bit of a HUD here. You can get this here. This actually isn't bad. Let's go back. And some of these actually include it's like a stinger transition and a whole bunch of things with it. But the one we're going to use is Uplink, just because I know it has everything included with it. So what we're going to do is when you find one, you'll hit install overlay, and it'll take care of installing it for you. Now there's a whole bunch of stuff that's in here that you have to take care of before you even get started. So I kind of like step one is go find you a theme. Step two is you got to strip all the poop out of it. Like you don't need half of this stuff. So in the stream starting screen, it even says, thank you for using the free version of our stream package. You can get rid of that by clicking the source. The sources are the things that you put on your screen, and clicking the minus button or the delete button, and it'll take it away. So the next thing is you'll see on the screen, it has your name instead of your actual name. What you do is you can double click it, go into the text box. For me, I'm going to type in Darkened Cyrus. If I can actually spell my own name, hit enter. And then now my stream's going to say Darkened Cyrus, stream starting soon. They also have a social box, which is the exact same thing. You can change all of these. Like for Twitter, I would just double click the exact same thing. For me, it's Darkened Cyrus. And then I can change all of my URLs here, and I can even change my schedule. For example, my schedule is, when I click on it, And it's changing because we're now back at school, but it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Right now I'm doing like 8:30p to, let's do 11:30p. And then when you hit done, that's done. And when you start your stream, it is there. That's done. That's quick. That's easy. That's awesome. We'll talk about the alert box in a second. But let's go ahead and continue to look through these. You have your stream ending screen. I'll look at that stinger transition. That was nice. Same thing. We can go through here and edit all of these. You have your stream be right back screen. Again, you can edit the your name and all of your URLs. You have your intermission screen, which is where you can put your webcam or even your game, whichever place. Personally, I prefer putting your webcam on an intermission screen just because I think it makes more connection with your audience. And if you're gonna step away, go to a be right back screen. And then you have your end games. You have your horizontals, which is where the layouts go across the top like this. Which is kind of like a HUD. I have that. If you look just under me, I kind of have like a little baby HUD here. Mine's very condensed. And then you have the one that's the same thing, but it's a stack version. I kind of prefer this if you're going to do separate alerts for each thing. Keeps it clean, keeps it small. So right now it's giving you several options. You have a 16:9 frame and alerts here, and then you have a 4:3 frame. All you have to do is to get rid of one, you can either hide it, which you might want to do. So I use a square frame. So I'm going to hide the 16:9 frame just by clicking the little eye here. And then there's two label stacks. You have the label stack without a sub and with a sub. And you're not going to have any subscribers for YouTube, or not for YouTube, but for Twitch, unless you're affiliate at least. So if you're that, keep that. If you're not, you want the one without the subs. So what you'll do is you hide the ones you don't want, and then you can hide the stack, and now that's gone. So I want the one with the subs. Now both of these things are right here on top of each other. So what I can do is actually create a group by hitting the plus button and going to I think it's right click. Maybe it's right click. No, they have a button that's dedicated on this. So add a group. And we're going to call this not alerts, but counters, maybe. That's a horrible way to say that. Let's call it widgets. Let's just call it a widget. So now we've got a folder that we can pull down here. And we know that this overlay stack is going to go in it, and this label stack is going to go in it. So now when we click this, we can move this all in one go and not have to move individual items. So I can move this and see how I just moved it individually. When I click the folder, I can now move it all in one piece. So let's go ahead and put it down here in the corner. Let's grab the webcam, put it over here in the corner. And this is where I would actually input my webcam right here. Now I can't do that because when I hit add and I go to video capture, it's going to say that my webcam is there, but I can't connect because I'm streaming on OBS right now. So technically the scene is done. That's it. And once you do all of your edits to your other layers, like stream starting, stream ending, stream right back, intermission, all that's done as well. The next thing is to talk about is the alert box. Now you can see it's kind of small right now. I'm going to hold, if you just grab the box and move it, you can move it around like this. You can also see that it snaps. You can get rid of the snapping by holding the control button and getting a lot more fine control with any source on the screen. Control is like a temporary turn off snapping. Alt allows you to actually trim. Like for example, here's this. If I do this, it makes it smaller. But when I hold Alt, it allows me to actually trim off a piece of that. And if I had like a green screen, that could be a really good underlie of a green screen right there without having to actually change too much. So I'm going to hold Alt. I'm actually going to bring that source all the way back up. So the alert box is here. We're going to edit that really quick. So when you go in here, this is going to take a while because I have so many things linked, but you can see bits, donations, merch, subscriptions, follows, hosts, raids, etc. Right now there is a media attached to it, but we're actually going to attach one. Let's just go and do a subscription. So I'm going to go to media, and this is where you can choose any kind of alert or whatever. I have these alerts that I've already created on my YouTube channel. By the way, if you want to go check all that out, I just dropped a video. So if you want to click on it, you select the, for me, it's a WebM file. I'll click OK. Second option, if you want to do your alert box, you can go to the website and sign in, and you can actually do all of your alert box editing from the actual website. So they have a place on the left called the actual where you go for your alerts, and you can find here, I think I'm signed in under Twitch. Okay, so same thing, I can go here under subscriptions, and I can choose which one of these I want. So I want the subscriber, and I want it to be above the text. Yes, just like this. And I don't want any animation. I don't want any animation either. So show Prime subs. Yes, yes, yes. I'm going to put has joined the darkness. Now what you do is go and edit all of your alerts, but I'm just going to go ahead and hit save settings, and it's going to give me a URL right here. So I'm going to copy it. I'm actually going to delete this alert box for now. We're going to add a browser source, which is what you would use for widgets. I'm going to call it alerts. Add source. Click here, copy and paste. Let's click done. And now when I test the subscription, you can see that I now have my subscriber alert that popped up on the screen. And it's going to play for too long because it's going to try to play for 8 seconds or 10 seconds or something. And it's going to keep looping. So what we need to do is actually set that to a minimum. So alert duration, it's only a 6-second alert. And alert text delay, we're not worried about that necessarily. All right, so let's hit save on that. Every time you edit that, it's going to be the same thing here. So let's go ahead and do subscription one more time. And then when it goes away, it should go away, but I think it's just testing it so you can see it. And you can see that if I do a follow, I haven't updated it yet, so it's going to keep doing follows that way. All right, cool. So this is how you edit your splash screen. Do all of your editing, etc. Something that we haven't talked about is how to put your game in. You have 3 options. Let's talk about them. You have window capture, you have game capture, and you have display capture. Window capture is like if you want to, I'll just go ahead and put one in. It's like if you want to capture your any kind of window, like Chrome, Xbox, console companion. This is how you would actually capture your Xbox if you wanted to. Anything, like I can capture my OBS right now. Like this is my OBS on the left that I'm put up on the screen. So once you grab anything, you want to drag it to the bottom because you want that under your overlays and things like that. And as you can see, it actually goes under all of that stuff that I've already set up on the left. So anyway, once that's done, you can move forward and keep going. The other one is game capture. Game capture is interesting because it only captures games that actually work with a specific type of graphic program, and not all games use it. So it's an interesting thing. You can leave it on auto. This is actually a new function that they have, and just hope that it captures the game, but it doesn't always capture it. And there's so many options here. So at your own risk, figure out if you can do that. Personally, I don't play things in full screen, so I play things in windows. Once you choose window, you can actually choose from a bunch of different things. Like I can choose Spotify, but it's not going to capture the Spotify window. If you capture something and it doesn't pop up, if you toggle the SLI crossfire and the force scaling button, sometimes it'll pop up too. It's a big thing there. Also, you can turn off anti-cheat compatibility. Sometimes that works. All right, we're going to get rid of game capture. The other option is what I use, and that's actually display capture. It uses some resources, but in my opinion, it's the cleanest because you don't have to worry about, well, I need to switch video games and etc. all that.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Steampunk, thank you for the follow, man. So anyway, so right now you see this is the display capture that is in the back. So it's capturing literally my entire main display. And if I do subscription, you'll see that they'll show right there, and I can move that alert box around. Okay, so those are the 3 different ones. Personally, I recommend display capture if you have a decent CPU that can control it, etc., and you don't have anything weird on your desktop, like you don't want people to see things on it. I think desktop display capture is beautiful. If you want to keep some privacy, do one of the other ones. Just know there's sometimes you have to go to Intermission Screen and go and set up your game if you're going to switch games, etc. So let's talk about settings that are going to make your OBS or Streamlabs OBS run the best. Okay, this is the part where people, they kind of gimp on this. They focus on so much of the visual aspect that they don't focus on the actual settings of their stream, and then they hit start stream and they're like, wow, I'm dropping frames, it looks bad, a whole bunch of stuff. So some of the things that we can do is talking about, first off, the general stuff isn't necessarily, it's kind of specific to what you want. Like, do you want it to tell you to stop when you, like, are you sure you want to go live? Are you sure you want to record? Do you want it to have any of that stuff, or to prevent you from doing so in case you accidentally click stop? You know, those are some things that you can do here. But we're actually going to go to, first of all, you can set up your stream, make sure all that's taken care of. If you're restreaming, you have to go to stream to custom ingest, custom streaming server, and then you can put your URL and stream key from whatever you're streaming from. It could also be under the services, like you have Mixer, YouTube, Facebook Live, Restream, Twitter, and Periscope. Those are just normal ones here, but if you've already signed in with your account, you can just use the ones that are like this. Output. This is where we're going to have a little bit of explanation. So at the very top, you have simple and you have advanced. Don't use simple just because you don't have a lot of options to edit. So make sure you're under advanced, and then we're going to be under the streaming tab. If you want to talk about recording, that's a whole nother video because there's so many options. We're going to talk about streaming, and we're going to go through each of these and talk about the options, the best way to do it, etc. All right, audio track, I would leave it on 1. You actually can split all of your audio into 6 different tracks, but when you stream, you can only stream 1 stream of audio. So you want to have at least one of your 6 splits having all of your audio going into 1. What do I mean by that? So make sure it's in 1. When you right-click your mixer, or actually click the gear, you'll see all of your things that are already included, like desktop audio, mic, your alerts, video capture device. And you'll see where it says all of these things are 1 through 6 here. You want to make sure that the number 1 is selected. So if I went through here and undid this and I hit start stream, even though all the rest of them are selected, I'm seeing it monitored on my screen. You're not going to get any sound to your stream. So you got to make sure they're selected. The reason they're important is more for recording, because when you record in a file format like MKV, you can literally split all of your sources up in different audio tracks, and when you throw it in an editing program, it'll have separate audio tracks for each of those browser sources. I use that all the time. So when I record my YouTube videos, I will use OBS, and I split game capture, my mic, anything that would be a browser source or whatever the case, so that when I go into there, I have individual control of each thing in that post-production atmosphere. But seeing as your live production, there's no reason to have to think about that. All right, next is your encoder. You have 3 options, only 2 of them matter. Let's talk about software X264. So X264 is actually transcoding with your CPU. Now, if you don't have, let's say you have a 4-core CPU, I'll just throw some out there, like a i3, I think it's a 9100F or something like that, or a Ryzen 3, any of the generations, that's a 4-core, 4-thread, or 4-core, 8-thread. Streaming on an X264 plus trying to game isn't necessarily the best idea. Like if you have a Ryzen 5 or an i5, like a 90, what is it? What is a 9600F or something like that? That's without the, or 9600K. If you're going to overclock, F is without the graphics processor on it. Those are probably decent to do X264 encoding as well as gaming. Just know that you're not going to have the best quality because you're going to have to lower your encoding rate, which we'll talk about. The other option is to use your graphics card. So all graphics cards AMD and NVIDIA have a dedicated encoding chip built into the graphics card. So on that graphics card, you have your graphics chip, which is your 3D rendering, and then you have the encoding chip, okay? When you're playing your video games, it's a completely different chip. When you're rendering and doing live streams and stuff like that, it's a completely different chip. They don't interact. Now, the program will use a little bit of 3D to be able to push and do some things, but it won't actually render on that. It's on a completely different chip. So consider it separated and a really good opportunity. Not all encoders are made the same, and that's where things get interesting. So your 2600 series or your 2000 series graphics cards, or any of the newer NVIDIA cards like 1650 Super, 1616 Super, 1616 Ti, and then any of the 2000 series cards, even the 2060 all the way through the 2080 Ti, are what's called the Touring encoder, which is probably the most advanced encoder right now. And it compares to a X264 of faster to medium, or fast to medium, which is really good. And it uses a lot less resources. So if you have a graphics chip that's not too old, even if you have like a 1060, it's actually, with the Pascal, still a really good encoder. Now, if you have a RX 580, 5700 XT, 5600 XT, they don't have the best encoder on them, and in some ways I would probably still tell you to get a little bit better of a CPU and just use X264. So for the price that you can get a 3600 and a 2060 Super, you can encode on the graphics card and not have to put so much weight on that chip. You can get a 3700X and a 5700 XT, have a better graphics card, a little bit better of a chip, but you don't have the encoder that's really going to give you really good quality. So you would use the X264 and eat up resources on your CPU. So it's kind of a trade-off on how you do things. And in some ways, there's good things in one way and good things in bad in the other way. You should probably go do more research on that. Just know that if you have a graphics card, you have an encoder, which means you can do this. Just know it might not be the best encoder. NVIDIA is probably the way you lean if you want to do live streaming, but that's not complete science. Let me just say that. So on X264, you have a couple things. On every one of these, you have what option for rate control. You want CBR, constant bit rate. So rate control is in constant bit rate. Keeps everything consistent, and it doesn't fluctuate. Something, turn off enforced streaming service. Don't do that. Don't do that. Rescale output, don't turn that on. Bit rate. Here's where things get interesting, and I have a dedicated video coming out on this, but here's something you need to know. If you're not a partner, if you're an affiliate and you know you don't get transcoding a lot, you want to keep this nowhere near or nowhere above 3500. That's just my opinion. You're going to make people lag. We even saw that at the beginning of the stream today. I had it at 3000. People were lagging. I bumped it back to 2000. People could watch. So in my opinion, if you're not going to get transcoding, you might as well think about the lowest bit rate and kind of lowering your quality down so that you can reach people. Some people are like, I want 1080p, crisp, beautiful, the max frames I can do. And that's great. Just know that if you don't have transcoding, you're putting a lot of requirements on the people that watch you. And if you want to grow, don't alienate your audience. Just saying, they're there for you. Make sure your microphone is really good and your gameplay is good, but they're there for you ultimately. They're not there for a whole bunch of other reasons. So make sure that it looks decent, not crazy. So in my opinion, if I were going to do a 720 stream, let's say if it's 720p 60, I'm playing fast moving games, 720p 60. I would say the max I would do is 3500. Let's just say 3000. Keyframe interval, auto sounds fantastic, but it's not. So make sure you set keyframe to 2. That's required by Twitch. If you're on X264, The fastest option, people get confused with this. The fastest option is not the best option. So ultra fast is actually worse quality than very slow. The slower it is, the more time your computer has with each frame to build out every single pixel. So the faster it is, it just kind of pushes your pixels quick. Sometimes it looks blocky. So a good place to start is start your streaming either on super fast or on ultra fast. And then if you notice that it's not getting a huge hit on your CPU, now this is using X264, then bump down, go down to very faster. I would aim for faster. If you can get medium and you don't have like a 3700X or a 3950X or an i9 9900K or something like that, you're doing really good. But faster is a really good place to aim, okay? Profile none, tune none. Actually, profile needs to be high. Tune, you can change this to whatever you want. I say leave it as none. X264 options, there's a bunch of things you can Google with that. I don't mess with them. Not much changes on when you do hardware, like NVIDIA is NVENC. I would still do bitrate of 3000. Keyframe interval of 2, leave preset at quality, profile at high. Psycho visual tuning I would definitely turn on, and then B frames you want to leave at 2. That's straight up. Real simple. If you want a better stream and you have a decent card, like I have a 2060 Super, I can actually turn on max quality and get a much better looking stream as long as your encoder supports it, and it's not going to put any more requirements on the end of the user, but it makes your computer work a little bit harder, the chip. But remember, your chip is separate from your graphics, so it's not really going to impact that much. So I would say quality, if you can support it, go to max quality. It's called 2-pass encoding, but you don't have to. Don't do look ahead. It's dynamically changing B frames. It's not worth it. Okay. That's output. I feel like I have so much more to go through, but we don't. Audio. Sample rate. This one's easy. Whatever your microphone is, like I have a 48,000 hertz microphone, you need to know that. That's what you select here. If it's a 44.1, then you select 44.1. Desktop audio device and all this, these are the things that you connect, like where's your sound from your game coming? What is your microphone? Check those things. Video, this is where you downscale. So your base canvas is what your monitor is. So I have a 144 hertz 1080p panel. I want my canvas to be what that is. Then your output or your scaled is what you're wanting to send to Twitch or to whatever. So set it to 720. Lanczos is the best. If you're noticing a little bit of very sharpness, that's a horrible way to say that the picture is really sharp, you might want to bump back to bicubic. It'll kind of blur a little bit and actually make things a little bit smoother. If you're doing slow-paced games, do Lanczos. If you're doing really fast-paced games and you're noticing it being very jagged at times, bump back to bicubic and you might be surprised how much you save. I've never had a problem with Lanczos, so leave it there. FPS type, leave as common, and then common FPS values. If you want 60 frames, run 60 frames. Just know that you're doing twice as many frames as 30. That sounds dumb to say, but when you only have a specific amount of bitrate to fill each of those frames, going back to 30 or even back to 48 frees up so much bitrate to put so much more quality in there. So that's your option. I think if you're going to do 720p 30, 2000 bitrate, that's like 2 megs up, is so much better than trying to do 3500 or 3000 at 720p 60 and have a really poopy looking stream. So we're at 3000, so I'm going to leave it at 720p 60. I could even go 48 and probably get away with a nice looking stream. All right, advanced. This is the last couple things. Process priority, we want to leave as high. Some people say above normal. I've only done testing a little bit on this and I haven't noticed any difference. Leave it on high. Color format, I used to tell people until recently to leave this on 601 and partial, but 709 in full barely uses any resources. I was told a whole lot of craziness. That's all I got to know. All right, last things you need to know is under the network tab. This is what's going to keep you from dropping frames. You need to check dynamically change bitrate when dropping frames while streaming. So instead of you dropping frames, it will just kind of degrade the quality of your stream and keep people on your stream rather than it being skip, and your stream look really bad and people think, oh, it's on my end when it's on your end. So by allowing it to kind of lower the quality to keep people engaged is more important. Remember we talked about that video, people are there to hear you and sometimes they don't always have to look at you. Plus they're using their cell phone to watch you, and I mean, if I'm watching 1080p on my big monitor compared to 1080p on my phone, it's a big difference in how you perceive things. Like 540p, if you've ever looked at it on your phone, actually still looks decent. So dynamically changed bitrate's good. Do not turn on browser source hardware acceleration. No reason to. And then if you're in slobs, there's a whole bunch of other options down here. Scene collections, etc. Another tip, this is for me, is to actually put hotkeys in if you want to change your scenes on the fly. So I used to put all of my function keys as hotkeys. So I would put like F9 as my intermission screen and F10 as my live screen or something. So that while I'm streaming, I could just reach up, tap that, boom, I'm over. But you have to make sure, I think it's in advanced, or maybe it's in general. It might be in general. It allows you to, I don't see it here. One of them is it allows you to actually do keybinds on any screen. And maybe that's just an OBS, regular OBS setting, because I don't see it in here. Let's go back to hotkeys. And I don't think I saw anything at top, no. So maybe it just does it anyway for Streamlabs OBS, but in OBS there's a button that allows you to actually click that. Appearance, this is where you can change some of the themes, chat text size, how's the live docker, etc., all that. So that's pretty much it. Once you have all of those settings clicked, you are free to hit start streaming and you're good. Like you're ready to go. So yeah, so I just did a huge tutorial on that. My question to you now is, do you have any questions?